Hello, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to Stone Belt ARC's webinar, Stories of Belonging. You'll hear from Jackie Harner, Thomas Phillips, Dixie Cheney, and Michaela Coppage. Before we get to that, I want to just let you all know, here we go. I just want to let you all know a little bit about Stone Belt. I am Sarah McKenney, Sarah Vanderzee McKenney. I am the spiritual support coordinator for Stone Belt ARC. For those of you who don't know who Stone Belt is, we are a nonprofit service provider that provides a wide range of support services for people with intellectual and or developmental disabilities, as well as neurodivergent folks. We are located primarily in Bloomington, Bedford, and Columbus, Indiana, and serve the South Central area of Indiana. We are a secular organization, so that means we strive to offer support to people of any and all faith or spiritual practices. We are also a community-based organization, so this means we promote full integration and inclusion of and belonging of people in their faith community. So before we dive in, I want to bring your attention to just a few more things. Please notice the donation site at the bottom of this screen, and I'm also going to put it in chat right now. Give me a moment. I'm not so good at multitasking. That link should get you there. Oh, I sent that just to the hosts and panelists. Let's try that again. Okay, now you all should see that. So please think about going to that site and making a donation. We offer all of our webinars for free, but we do want to give you quality speakers, and we do pay all of our speakers. So we do want to make sure, so please consider making a donation. Now I want to go over just a few Zoom, actually no, before we go over a few Zoom details, I also want to draw your attention to, this is the last of our webinar series for this year. So that means all of our webinars this year have been recorded and are available on our website. And I'll put that website here in the chat as well. So that should give you our spiritual support page on our website, where you can see all past recorded webinars of this year and 2021. And then we will have a new webinar series available next year. So stay tuned to learn more about that as well. Now, a few Zoom instructions. I know each time we get on Zoom, there's slightly different things are asked, but your microphones are, those who are watching, your microphones are muted, but you can use the chat icon. Please feel free to use the chat to introduce yourselves, say a little bit about who you are, where you're from, why you're here, anything that you might want people to know about you. Feel free to use that as a way to network and connect with one another. If you have questions, you will notice the Q&A spot icon. We will do a Q&A section at the end, so your questions can go there. Chat is disabled. Oh no. Okay. Well, that changes things. Let's see if I can change that on my side right now. I cannot, or I do not know how. So, that must have been a setting that I didn't turn on. So please feel free to use the Q&A box for that as well, and I'll sort through the questions. Sorry about that, folks. So yes, please enter. It looks like the Q&A box is working. Somebody else says chat is working for me. So, I'm not sure who has access to that or not. Not sure how to answer that question. So maybe try again with your chat and see if that is that changes for you. Those who can use it, feel free. I'm sorry, I don't know what to do and how to fix that. Those of you, closed captioning should be available. So I have it turned on. If you don't see it at the bottom of your screen, you can enable that and see that for yourself. You'll see that icon on your screen. It should be a CC icon, and you should be able to turn that on if you need to see that. And you can also make that bigger if you need that as well for you. Okay. Now all right, so let's move on and I can introduce you all to our guest speakers. So one of our first guest speakers is Jackie Harner. He is autistic and has ADHD. He's a transgender man, and he currently attends, is a member of the Disability Inclusion Committee at his home church, St. Thomas Lutheran Church here in Bloomington, Indiana. And he works at Goodwill for 3 years. And when we prepared this, 3 years and 3 months, so it's probably a little bit longer than that now. And we also have Thomas Phillips with us. He currently works in medical manufacturing standards at Biomedics. He says, I build catheters and other medical equipment, so very important job. He was awarded the Outstanding Contribution Award this year by Stonebelt Arc for good leadership in my own, this is a quote from him, for good leadership in my own life and getting his driver's license. And he says he is a person with autism. You will hear Dixie Cheney and her story. She attends classes at Employment Fundamentals Day program. She takes cooking classes and really enjoys dancing and singing. And finally, we have Michaela Coppage. Michaela identifies as a person with a disability through the experience of physical disability and IDD, intellectual developmental disabilities. She currently works as a magazine delivery for Bloom Magazine, which is a local magazine. Currently, she is also an artist with Stonebelt Arc, and her work is often for sale and available. So without further ado, I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to ask that our speakers turn on their cameras. And I'm going to ask for Jackie Harner to turn on his microphone.
All right.
Jackie, so we've already learned that you attend St. Thomas Lutheran Church here in Bloomington. Is that correct?
Yep.
And I still can't hear you for some reason.
Yep. Can you hear me now? Hang on, I got some earbuds in my backpack. Sorry.
You're fine. Take your time.
Can you hear me now?
Still can't hear you.
I'm gonna read it. This is frustrating. Can you help me? I can't. It's
Can you hear us now?
Okay,
you
some
guys-
people can hear Jackie. Why can I not hear Jackie?
And now my camera's off. Great.
Okay, I can hear you. That was my fault. That was on me. All right, Jackie, so you attend St. Thomas Lutheran Church here in town. How does St. Thomas demonstrate welcoming and inclusivity to you?
They always say good morning to me when I come in on Sundays, and they ask how I'm doing. They also have pride flags on site. They have like the pride flags at the church, and they also have let us per pronouns on our name tags at church. Let's see if I'm missing anything.
Absolutely.
Did I miss anything? Oh, yeah, I did. They have large print bulletins, and they have hearing loops for people who are hard of hearing. The large print bulletins, by the way, are for people with vision, low vision or blindness. And they also have hearing loops for the hearing impaired. They also have sensory bags for people who need them. And let's see. When I had my gallbladder removed, they prayed for me when I got my gallbladder removed 3 months ago too. And they're always
That's very
interested in my
kind.
life.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
And they're always interested in my life and ask how our many barn cats are doing at my parents' house.
You do have a lot of cats.
14. We're on the way.
You always have a cat update, always.
Yeah.
But they know that you like cats and you really enjoy cats. So they check in on that. What else do they do that make you feel like you belong?
I'm in building belonging meetings and I help with that. I do that. And then I also go to Sunday school. I go to adult Sunday school, and it's really great because they want to hear, they listen to me, and they want to know my input on a lot of things and how stuff makes me feel. Like what
That's
we're
lovely.
discussing during Bible study
Mhm.
or
Absolutely. So you describe a long list of ways that St. Thomas has included you and that you experience belonging. How does it feel when they behave this way and say those things and do those things?
it feels good because I feel like I have a place there and they want me there and they want me to be included in everything.
Absolutely. How do you feel about the sensory bags and the hearing loops? You mentioned that. How does that make you, how you don't utilize all of those things, but why does that make you feel like you belong?
Because there are people who will need those things, and it's great that they have them for the people who need them. And
Mhm.
that shows that those people also belong here at church.
Absolutely. And how does it make you feel to be involved in the Building Belonging Committee and helping your congregation build that inclusion for people with disabilities?
It feels really good. It's great that I can kind of bring awareness to people with disabilities and faith communities, and that I can kind of have my voice be heard.
Absolutely. When you attend worship and people try to get to know you, can you tell a little bit about how having a leadership role has has impacted you and
Uh,
makes you feel?
it's impacted me by making me feel like I can help others who have disabilities in this faith community and show them that we want you here, we want you in leadership, we want you, to be an integral part of this community.
Mm. So not just attending and being here, but that your gifts matter in a leadership in a life-changing way.
Yeah.
Absolutely. How does going to church, just going to church, impact your life?
It gives me something to look forward to on Sundays. I get to see people that care about me. And it's really great because like they always say, like I said, they always say hello, but they also make me feel like they want me there and that they want me to be in this faith community. And going to church makes me feel good because I have a connection with God and these people.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. You've also mentioned a family that takes you to church.
Yep.
Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Sure. There's a family there called the Iversons, and they've been picking me up and taking me to church and taking me home. But that also, whenever they're really great people, they have they have kids, they have a cat and a dog. And most recently, they've invited me like over to their house for waffle brunch, which is a lot of fun. And it's great. I get to know these people better outside of church too, and they include me in things.
Oh, that's lovely. So it sounds like they've not only do they provide transportation to you, for you and with you, but that it's built some good relationships, important relationships.
Yeah, those people. Yeah, the Iversons are great. They're great people.
So how do you see God in these examples?
I see God in these examples by it shows me that He loves me and that He's glad that I can come in and worship, and that there's people around me who want me to come and worship and want me to be part of this community and want me to have a voice in this community.
Thank you for sharing that. One last question. Why is it important to you that faith communities are spaces of belonging for people with disabilities?
I think that it's important to have faith communities as a place of belonging for people with disabilities, because it's one of the first communities you meet as a kid. Like you're a baby and you get baptized, which most kids don't remember if they're babies, but if it's mainly the first group of people that you meet is your church family. And
Absolutely.
I, I have an adopted family with my mom, and then I have a church family with St. Thomas.
That's lovely. Thank you, Jackie.
Yeah, no problem.
We'll come back to you at the end, as I'm sure some people might have some questions for you. Thomas, you can turn your mic on. I know you've talked to me a lot about Jubilee, which is a young adults ministry group at your church. How do you belong? How do you know that you belong at Jubilee?
I have friends there. I hang out with the same people and get to know them. There are lots of events. I have made friends from Jubilee and hang out with them separate from Jubilee. I hang out with the Spree once a month, and I have hung out with others like Riley, Marcus, and others. They mean a lot to me because they are friendly. They're a lot of fun to hang out with. I like to hang out with my friends instead of by myself. I spend the time with the church family for both Thanksgiving and Christmas. It means a lot to me because I don't have a family who I can spend Thanksgiving and Christmas with. So this gives me an opportunity to spend that time with the family, and it feels special. I have enjoyed being a part of Jubilee because it's a young adult group, and I am able to hang out with people who are closer to my age and do fun things with. I have learned about praying. I like that we pray at Jubilee. I feel like praying helps me to believe in myself, and I like hearing about praying and talking to God.
Thank you so much, Thomas.
No problem.
You shared a lot of things, examples. Can you
Yes.
tell me a little bit about how those examples make you feel, how all that makes you feel?
I feel great. I feel pumped. They're a lot nice and kind. They love having me in Jubilee and being friends with me. I like being their friends. When I passed my driving exam, they all celebrated with me and congratulated me on the success.
So it sounds like having somebody to celebrate the successes and maybe be there with with you in the challenge, any challenges. How do you experience God when you are with your friends there at Jubilee?
I feel God is there when I hang out with my friends and they are being kind and loving. I went on the free trip to Holiday World with the church group. They also do trips for free where we spend a couple of nights at the hotel sometimes. This is special because I am able to participate in these fun activities with my friends and money isn't an issue.
That's hugely helpful. But I also see that I also hear you talk about God as you experience God through those friendships when people are loving and kind to you.
Yeah.
Why do you think it's important for churches and congregations to include people with disabilities?
People with disabilities should have the right to make friends and have fun at church, so churches should welcome them to make that happen. People at the church go on mission trips sometimes, and they stay at hotels sometimes when they go on mission trips. I have a good feeling that they will be going on amusement park trips sometime when we stay a couple nights somewhere, sometimes at the hotel.
That's
I'm
something I know you really enjoy.
Yep. I'm still not sure if they do it like every year, just like exceptional giveaways do, but that's why I do exceptional giveaways. That's why I
Right.
try to save money for trips for exceptional giveaways too, if you know what I
Because
mean.
you really like to travel, and so I hear you saying part of including people with disabilities is even on trips, even on mission trips, going out and doing those things. Nothing is impossible, right?
Right.
Not assuming that people with disabilities can't do those things.
Right.
Absolutely. So now we are I'm going to introduce you all to Miss Dixie, and I'm going to share my screen again. Hopefully. All right.
Jesus, love me, yes I know. For the Bible tell me so. There's no one can below. They are weak, but he is known. Yes, Jesus loves me. Yes, Jesus loves me. Yes, Jesus loves me. For the Bible tell me so.
Dixie Cheney is your name, right?
Yeah, my name is Jamie.
Dixie Cheney. And where do you go to church? Do you go to Lighthouse Community Church? Mm-hmm. And what do you like about going to church?
Sing.
You like to sing?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. What else do you like about going to church? When you pray?
Pray.
Okay, you like to pray at church?
Yeah,
What else do you like to do at church?
just sing.
And sing? You really like singing, don't you?
Yeah, sing, sure.
When you sing at church, do you also dance at church?
Dance, sure.
Do you dance?
Yeah, dance, sure.
You do like to dance at church.
Yeah, dance, sure.
Oh, you got your dancing legs on right now.
Yeah. Sure.
Are people nice to you at church?
Should be like me, sure.
Yeah, how are they nice to you?
Good. Good. Sure.
They're good to you?
Yeah, good.
Mm-hmm. Do they say hello?
Yeah, they say hello.
And I see a lot of people hug you when you go to church.
Yeah, he love me. For sure.
Yeah, and they know your name, don't
Yeah,
they?
you know my name.
When they see you, they say, "Hi, Dixie."
They have me.
Hi to you, absolutely.
Yeah.
How does that make you feel when they are happy to see you there?
Good.
Makes you feel good.
Mhm.
Okay. How do you feel that they know your name? It makes you feel good that they know your name, you said. Okay. Yeah. Why do you think it's important that churches include people with disabilities? Because it's good. Okay. Thank you so much, Dixie, for talking to us. Can you say bye to everyone?
Yeah, say bye, everyone.
You say bye-bye?
Yeah, say bye, everyone.
So that was Miss Dixie. It was a pleasure putting that together with her. So hopefully you learned a little bit from her perspective of why Lighthouse and her friends at Lighthouse are so important to her. And finally, we have Michaela. Michaela, you can turn on your mic. There you go. And what church do you go? What congregation do you go to here in
I
Bloomington?
go to First Presbyterian Church here in Bloomington.
We're laughing because we attend the same faith community. We've known each other for a long time. So tell me, Michaela, even though I'm here, how do you know you belong there at First Presbyterian?
Because we are all like a family. They always welcome me with open arms. And I've been going there since I was 14 consistently. I was confirmed there. They didn't really care if I had a disability or not. It wasn't even a question that I would be confirmed. Being confirmed helped me confirm my faith in front of others. This is important so that I could be a member of the church.
I heard you say, Michaela, that they didn't even question like It wasn't even, there were no doubts that that you wouldn't be confirmed. Of course you would be confirmed.
Mhm.
And I like that attitude.
Thank you. This helped me feel like I found a place that I belong and I can call my own, and I fit in there.
Absolutely.
At the church, I usher. I help do coffee hour. When I usher, I take an offertory plate and pass it down the aisle. I pass out bulletins at the beginning of church. I help to light and put out the candles at the beginning and end of the service. At coffee hour, I help set up the refreshments and help clean up afterward. I was grateful that I was grateful that they changed our children's worship bags to a You Pick fidget bar, where you can put what fidgets you want and put it in your bag.
Very cool.
This is not just for children, but people of all ages. It makes me feel good because the fidgets help people like me with intellectual disabilities focus and process what is preached and taught in worship. I may not understand something right away, but when I fidget, sometimes it helps things click more, like better.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So I know that was having that out and open creates that space that you know right away that you're welcome. Similar to what Jackie said about they have fidget bags, and having those available to people just makes you, whether you use them or not, makes you feel like you know that you're welcome. You have a great gift of connecting with others. Can you tell everybody a little bit about the ministry that you started during COVID?
Sure. So when COVID started, I felt like I was lonely and I missed talking to people. So I started calling people and talking to them and like seeing how their day was going. And it really worked out really well for me because then I got to hear from my friends again.
Absolutely. So this was during, just for those that don't know, so this was during the period of COVID where like nobody could leave their houses, nobody attended faith community, like their faith communities. So like nobody was visiting anybody. And I know you really miss people. So how did you get in touch with people?
I took my church directory that they give out every year, and I looked up people in there and I started calling them. Sometimes they wouldn't answer, but then they'd call back later.
And so did anyone show any appreciation for this?
Yeah, I ended up becoming a deacon and helping out. Like, this is eventually like how it led up to me becoming a deacon. So now I get to help do the bulletins, and I've helped light and distinguish the candles. It's really fun.
It was a great way. They really saw your leadership and your gifts, didn't they?
Yes, they did.
And then they responded to that and to see if you would be a formal leader in the church and be a deacon. How wonderful. How do you experience God, Michaela, at church?
I experience God when my pastors preach. I also experience God when the choir sings, the bell choir, and other guest music. I feel God with me at closing prayer, and I feel God shows himself to me.
That's lovely. Why do you think it is important that congregations include people with disabilities?
Because you don't really know if they have that kind of, if like God is in their life, if they can do that at home or not. So it's good to like have a place to talk to God, because then you can feel safe.
Very cool. I know that has been your church has been a safe haven for you, and a place that you can go and kind of feel like you can be open in your faith.
Mhm. Yeah.
That's been a big part of your life journey. Absolutely. Thank you, Michaela, for sharing. Thank you all for sharing. We're going to open this up to questions. And I'm going to pull up the Q&A box
Okay, there's
and try and follow along. Marcus says, I love hanging out with Thomas. So Marcus is on Thomas. And he enjoys hanging out with you. Does anybody have questions for anyone here? Sorry, Dixie cannot be here, but I might be able to answer some questions. But any other questions for any of these folks? All right, I have a question. Reverend Wanda, I did, so Reverend Wanda's asking, did anyone experience any challenges at your church? Did any of you experience any challenges at your church? Go ahead, Jackie.
One of the challenges for me was getting transportation because I can't drive because I don't see very well. So that was really hard at first. And then once the Iversons started taking me, it was a lot easier.
And that's a common, I know, at least two, well, and with Dixie. So the 3 out of the 4 of you, transportation is a common barrier for people with intellectual developmental disabilities. Thomas does have his driver's license and will hopefully have a car somewhat soon. But a lot of people with intellectual developmental disabilities don't have cars or are able to drive. And so that's a real barrier. Absolutely. Thanks, Jackie, for sharing that.
Yeah,
Hannah.
no problem.
Hannah asks, how did you all first find your church communities? How or what was your first experience like? So first question, how did all of you first find your church community? Michaela, I
Are we
saw
going in
your hand
order?
go up.
I found
Are we going in
mine
order?
when I started coming up to Indiana to see my grandparents every summer.
It's your grandparents' home church, right?
Yes.
Okay. And what was your first experience like?
I've been going
Remember?
there since I was a baby. So I'm not sure what my first experience was like, but coming here every summer and going to church was really fun.
And do you feel like your connection with the church has gotten better at the longer that the more they get to know you and the longer you're there?
Most definitely. I feel like my bond with the church has gotten a lot stronger as more people come and join. And I'm not just the only one with disabilities there now.
Mhm.
I know a lot of people that go there, or I shouldn't say a lot, but I know a couple of people that go there that have disabilities similar to mine that I've actually made friends with.
Thank you, Michaela. Jackie, did you have a response for this question?
Yeah. Well, I grew up Lutheran in a very small town in Ohio. And my mom was like, well, let's find a Lutheran church down in Bloomington. And we found St. Thomas, and I'd been going there even before I transitioned. So like, I would go with my mom when she'd visit on the holiday weekends, like during Easter or Mother's Day, we'd go to church at St. Thomas. And my first impression was that it was really big compared to my old church.
I know for you, there was one thing that first initiated that, like, I might belong here when you walked in.
They had LGBTQ pride flag stickers.
Yep, so you saw that on like the sign and the stickers, and that was kind of
And the
one of
website.
your first indications.
Oh, yeah,
for you.
yeah.
Yeah. Thomas, do you remember how you first found out about Jubilee?
Yes, you introduced me to Jubilee because it was a good fit for me
Yeah,
last year.
absolutely. So you and I met, and this is what
Yep.
I do with some people here at Stonebelt.
Mhm.
You and I met and we talked about kind of what you believe, right?
Yep.
And the things that you want and are looking for. And you talked about how you wanted like a really active social. You really find God in relationships and friendships.
Yeah. True.
And so
True
we
that.
talked about Jubilee as being one of those spaces for you.
Yeah.
And what was your first experience, Thomas, when you first went to Jubilee?
My first experience is we saw Mamma Mia, my first Jubilee event I went to. And then the second thing I went to for second thing was a Jubilee dinner, which it happens every Wednesday. And then third thing I did was went to Pals.
So how
I met
was
one person there. It was a spree. last year.
Esprit? And she's become a good friend of yours, hasn't she?
We started hanging out with each other once a month.
And how was your what was your first impression when you first went there?
My first impression was I met friends there too, which
So you
is
met
good.
friends pretty quickly.
Yep. I found out that they first did the mission trip, but I didn't go to it. But yeah, they did the mission. They were going to go to Dallas, Texas, but then they were reopening, so we had to go. They had to go to New Orleans in Louisiana.
Wonderful.
Yep.
I'm looking back at our questions and I'm scanning our time.
We also do activities with each other too, like fun activities.
You do a lot of you do worship, but then you also do lots of social activities, don't you?
Yep, like laser tag, bowling, some stuff like that.
Absolutely.
And especially go to the pool at the complex outdoors.
Lots of fun things. I'm going to get back to Rosalie. I'm going to get back to your question. Someone asks, what makes a good sermon special for you, or what makes a sermon good for you?
Me?
Any of you?
What does that mean?
What are you talking about? A sermon?
Yeah.
So the message, when you kind of worship together in Jubilee, there's usually kind of a main message. What makes a message special or good for you?
Oh, there's usually fun details sometimes.
So maybe so stories and good details that you can connect to in the sermon. Okay.
Yeah.
I have another person that asks, Jackie, you mentioned that church is among the first place a child goes. I love those words. I love the image of a baby surrounded by a loving community of faith.
Thank you.
Reverend Wanda says, were people initially uncomfortable around you? And if so, did you have to do something to make them feel comfortable? So was anybody uncomfortable around you because you had a disability? And if so, like, what do you do to help make them feel, what do you do to help make them feel more comfortable?
For me, it was kind of the other way around. I was the one a little nervous and anxious about going to church. Because growing up, my sister also has vision problems, so the church we grew up in already accommodated us from a young age. So it wasn't more like they were uncomfortable at St. Thomas. It was more like I have to meet a bunch of new people that don't know me very well, and I'm anxious. But St. Thomas is very accepting. It's really nice to have them be so accepting.
Anybody else? Does anybody else feel like people might be uncomfortable around you because you have a disability? Michaela, if you're talking to us, you're on mute. If you're not, that's fine. Okay. I know most of you have kind of been pretty blessed with your experiences with your congregations. But all of you are pretty forward and about just putting yourselves out there and like, this is who I am, come talk to me. And all three of you, like, if I know that if people have questions or are afraid of like what to say or what not to say or what to do or what not to do, all three of you are pretty open people of like, just ask me, it's fine. Or am I accurate with that?
Oh yeah, yep.
I'm getting a laugh from Michaela because I know Michaela's like, just ask me, just talk to me. All right, well, let's see. What advice would you give someone looking for a church that is inclusive? Go ahead, Michaela.
My best advice would be to find a church that best suits you. And if they are inclusive, then great. But I'm not really sure what to say if they aren't. Like if they aren't, I'd try to see how you could be included.
Mm-hmm.
Like try to do different things to see if you like go to Bible study or other things of that nature.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I know each of you, well, two of you mentioned was the sensory bags or sensory bar. And so, you know, that's like, once you walk in and you see that, that's a first of all, a good indication that there's some awareness at that faith community. Do you think each of your churches, if somebody was to say, hey, I have a disability and I want to attend, I need some support. Do you think each of your congregations would be a space that would say, cool, what do you need?
Yes.
Definitely.
Is there any indication like on your website that you know of, or do you that they are inclusive?
I don't know with our church, Sarah, if they do, but I haven't been on our website lately.
Yeah, Jackie, were you gonna say something?
Okay, I'm unmuted. Yeah, St. Thomas. I know they have like a pride flag on their website, and every service they always have notes in the beginning like we have sensory bags, there's hearing loops when you walk in, basically. And some days they haven't had a large print bulletin for me because they only made 2, and then they'd find one for me around if I needed to use one. So they're very inclusive.
Yeah, and so one thing that you guys kind of mentioned and that you hit on, Jackie, is something that we're working on, building belonging. So for those people who are local to Bloomington, we have a building belonging cohort where it's a group of congregations that are working on disability inclusion. And one of the things that we do work on is how to kind of publicize it, what to publicize and how to publicize on your website, what to say at like maybe the beginning of your worship service without having like a giant speech to name everything. What are some kind of good taglines to say to make sure that people kind of know that they're welcome, and stuff like that. So if anybody has specific questions, I also am happy to answer those, and give you those tools and resources if you all want to email me. I see Wanda says, I think you all did a wonderful job sharing your experiences, particularly how you experience God. You all are educators. Thank you. Evelyn McMullen says, Michaela, your bio says that you have helped with mission through your church. How was that a good experience for you? What was challenging?
That was the mission trips that I've gone on. Each one has been a little different. I'd say that they are. What makes them a good experience is learning how to use power tools and using them correctly so that we come back with all 20 digits. But
Or however many digits you come with, you're leaving with the same amount, right?
yep, that's
Yep.
my grandpa's motto. Nobody comes home with any less digits than they came with. But I would say they've all been fun, the ones that I go on. And then the challenging part would be learning how to use the tools properly. And with me having a disability to where I can only use half my body, it's much harder to do. But I will say the most challenging tool is the circular saw, and I love using it now.
And I'm really proud of you and the congregation for not assuming, since you don't have full mobility on one side of your body, that you just not even try to learn. The assumption instead is let's figure it out.
Yeah, when I did go on the mission trips, it didn't matter if I had a disability. They just handed me a tool and explained how to use it. And then I was pretty much doing it on my own pretty soon after that, if I didn't need help. And it's amazing.
I know that has been a big impact on your life for sure.
Yeah, it has. It's fun. I wish I could still go on mission trips now, but maybe sooner I can. It's really fun, and everybody should get to go on at least one mission trip if they can.
And I have another question. What might you suggest for a congregation? What would be their first step in getting started with including people with disabilities in their faith community? What's the first step?
Maybe putting like the fidget bags out, or doing, like Jackie said, the hearing loops like what our church has, or doing the large print bulletins. Those are just to name a couple that I can think of right off the top of my head.
Anybody else have maybe some good first steps for a faith community in welcoming people with disabilities?
Maybe easily, and this is kind of based on an idea my church used before I became a member of St. Thomas, before my first church actually closed. But when I was younger, they had a room in the back called the quiet room, which is mostly used to get toddlers to calm down. But it was really nice back there because it was quiet and not as loud, and you could still hear the whole sermon. Like they had everyone hooked up to mics, and like, so you could still clearly hear what was going on, even if you needed to have a quiet time, you could still hear what was happening in the service.
And Jackie, how would you use that room? Would that room be just a place where people with disabilities kind of have to go or are sent? Or is that a place for people with disabilities who need a quiet space? They can choose to go there.
I think it would be, honestly, having it available, but not like saying, oh, you have to use this. Just be like, oh, this is there if you need it, no judgment.
Okay, so it's available as a choice, but not,
Yeah,
people aren't being sent there.
Right, right.
Okay. Good suggestions.
Thank you.
Thomas, do you have anything else to share?
Oh, yes, I do. So I got involved with Exceptional Giveaways in August of 2017, and in September of 2021, which was last year, I got involved in, I heard about Jubilee.
And so those two places have really impacted you and your life in being able to kind of get out and experience the world.
Yep, I also got involved in Special Olympics in the 2015, like in January 2015 for bowling first, and then
What sports?
it was bowling, flag football, basketball, track and field, and also soccer.
That's a lot of sports.
Mhm.
Well, thank you all for joining us. Thank you all who are watching for joining us. We're happy that you all came. I will put my, I apologize for the technical difficulties with chat. It looks like some setting got clicked before I started, and so it looks like that was not in operation today. So feel free to email me. I'm putting my email in now. If you have any additional questions or resource questions, I am happy to help any way I can, or help research it and figure out the answer. Thank you all for coming. It was a joy to see you all. Take care.
Mhm.